is Sergeant Stacy Stedham from the Administrative Investigations Unit. It's Thursday, November 5th, 2020 at 2:51 p.m. I'm conducting an interview with subject of Trooper Fitzpatrick along with his union representative, Larry Phillips. It's going to be AI 2020-10951. Can you see me okay here?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read the 36 here, the internal investigation pre-interview. It says you're subject of an administrative investigation. The known allegations are, on Wednesday, October 7th, 2020, you conducted a traffic stop involving Mr. Aaron Weisman. He later filed a formal complaint through Columbus Metro Post 25, about concerns regarding the traffic stop. Specifically, he spoke of your unprofessional demeanor and that you've assaulted him, which he sustained injuries as a result. You do have labor representative here, Larry Phillips. Okay. You are being interviewed as part of an official administrative investigation by the Department of Public Safety. You will be asked questions relating to the performance of your official duties or fitness for office. If you refuse to answer questions completely and/or accurately, you may be subject to disciplinary action up to and including dismissal. Statements provided under threat of disciplinary action may not be used against you in any subsequent criminal proceedings. Do you understand all that?
Yes.
I'll have to sign, and I'll get you a copy at the end. Okay.
I'll just get mine when it's
Okay,
done.
okay, that's right, you guys do a little differently. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Please state your full name for the record.
Jarid Fitzpatrick.
Can you spell that last name for me?
Fitzpatrick.
Okay, unit number
646.
and shift.
2P to 10P.
And then what are your days off?
Monday, Tuesday.
How long have you been employed with the division?
Since January 10th of 2018.
Okay. Let's reflect back to a traffic stop you conducted on October 7th, 2020 at 17:32 hours. Were you aware of a complaint that came in to the Columbus Metro Post regarding that traffic stop?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell me about that complaint that you received?
I pulled the subject over for failure to move over. She failed to yield for another trooper on a traffic stop. He had clear sight. My lights were on. The other trooper's lights were on. He didn't slow down. At no point did I see him even make an attempt to slow down, so I conducted a traffic stop with him. Upon my approach, he refused to roll the window down. I asked him to do it numerous times. He cracked the window, told me to put on a mask, and then rolled the window back up. I told him numerous times again to roll the window back down. He kept shaking his head no because he had his mask on. We were out on the interstate, so I couldn't hear what he was saying. He eventually cracked the window a little bit. I asked for his license, registration, insurance. He gave me the registration. I asked for the license and then insurance. He rolled the window back up, kept shaking his head no. He was making a lot of statements to which I couldn't hear because of one, due to the fact that his window was cracked probably less than an inch. Two, he had a mask, so his voice was naturally muffled. And three, I'm on the interstate with heavy traffic, high winds, and I even had an earpiece in my ear, so normal radio traffic's in my ear. I advised him numerous times I couldn't hear him. He was telling me I needed to put on a mask. I again asked for his information. After numerous times of asking for all his information, and after numerous times of him rolling his window back up, being argumentative, and shaking his head no, not obeying my orders, I asked him out numerous times. I had another trooper on scene. I had him take a lane in case we did have to force him out of his car. He eventually did get out after numerous more commands, to which he went back to my patrol car. I detained him, put him in handcuffs, and again attempted to explain the situation. Subsequently, he was cited, and then he was released on scene.
Okay, and who was the backup trooper?
Trooper Reggie Lawrence. Reginald Lawrence.
From Post 49 West Jeff Post?
Yes.
Okay, so let's back up. Just let me ask some questions from you. Did you get the opportunity to review the video of your traffic stop?
Yes.
When you approached the vehicle, did you explain to Mr. Weisman the reason for the stop?
I didn't have a full time to because he was argumentative and rolling his window up. I was trying to get his information, and I couldn't get to the point of trying to explain to him because of his arguing about me wearing a mask.
Did you hear him request you to put your mask on while he was seated in?
Yes, I told him I didn't have my mask on me at the car, so I didn't have a mask like in my pocket at the time.
Okay, so watching the video, what could you have done at that point to de-escalate the situation? To maybe make some progress with Mr. Weisman at the vehicle? When you guys are going back and forth, like you're saying, I can't understand what you're saying, and so what could you have done differently to maybe make some progress with him while you were the
If he
passenger
originally
side?
gave me his, bare minimum, I could have either backed up or we could have talked the back window, but I was already up at the car. So
Okay.
I was just trying to get his information.
Did he seem to hear you and understand your request for his documents, such as the license, registration, and the insurance?
Yes, because when I asked for it, he shook his head no and then rolled his window back up.
Did he give you the information? Did he provide
He
the documents?
originally gave me the registration and only the registration, and then I asked him for his license and his insurance.
And then what happened?
He rolled his window back up, and I had to ask him multiple times again.
So how many times did you ask him to put his window down so you could
I couldn't
talk to
tell
him?
you the exact number without watching and counting, but no less than 3 times.
Could you understand what he was saying when the window was up and communicate with
No.
him?
He had a mask on, and with the high winds, with his window being rolled up and him having a mask on, I had no way of hearing him.
In traffic going by, anything like that?
And the wind, and yes, and normal radio traffic with dispatch. I couldn't hear. I voiced that to him. I couldn't hear him, and I couldn't understand him at the same time.
Were you attempting to listen to what he was saying?
I was trying. When his window was up, there's even if I was not saying anything, there's nothing I could do to hear him. I could see him making gestures as if he's talking, but I can't understand what he's saying when he has a mask on and his window's up.
Okay. Why do you think he rolled his window up?
He stated he was scared of COVID.
And then did you say anything to him at that point to offer alternative methods to make him feel better about you being up at the car without your mask on?
At the time, no.
Okay. Did you tell Mr. Weisman that you could not hear what he was saying to you?
Yes.
And you were listening to what he was saying?
I didn't say I'm listening. I said I couldn't hear him. I'm trying to listen. I was trying to listen, but I couldn't hear him. I didn't voice to him, I'm listening, sir, but I can't hear you. I just stated to him, I can't hear him.
Okay. And when he suggested you wear the mask, what was your response?
I told him I didn't have it on me.
Did you have it in the patrol car?
It was in the patrol car, yes.
Okay. You could have went back to the patrol car and retrieved the mask?
I could have, yes.
Is there a reason you didn't?
There's officer safety if I walk up to the car and then immediately turn my back to walk back to my car because he states me to do so. If he originally gave me the information and explained that he's scared of COVID, the measures could have been taken. It's been done before where I've gotten at least the license and then went back to my car to get my mask.
Do you think it was clear the fact that he was in the car with his mask on by himself when you approached the car that he was concerned with COVID?
Naturally, everybody's concerned with COVID. I mean, I could say yes.
Okay. Did you think at all with backup unit being there that you could have requested him, maybe Trooper Lawrence, keep an eye on this guy while you went back to get a mask?
Trooper Lawrence arrived. He wasn't there immediately when I stopped the car, so he wasn't. It's not like we stopped the car together. He was on a stop when I stopped that car. So when exactly he pulled up, I couldn't tell you in the traffic stop, but he was also doing failure to move over, so he was about a couple car lengths back, watching oncoming traffic as well. So it wasn't, we weren't doing the traffic stop together. It was, he just happened to have pulled up and was watching traffic as I was on that traffic stop.
And then at any point did you ask the trooper,
Yes.
Trooper Lawrence, to watch traffic for you?
No, it's just I didn't ask him to. It was just we were in the same vicinity and we were just bouncing off each other's traffic stops. Meaning, like in my dash cam, I was sitting behind him on his traffic stop watching traffic, and then when I made my traffic stop, he was watching traffic, and you didn't have to ask, you're just watching it. It's kind of a natural thing to do when you're looking for failure to move over.
Okay. Do you feel in order to carry out your duties you needed the window all the way down to be able to communicate clearly with him?
It does not need to be all the way down, but I was asking him for his information. I wasn't asking to talk, I was asking for his information, and he would roll his window up and begin to speak with his mask on, and there was no way for me to, at one point it was cracked, but I still couldn't hear him because of the wind, because of passing traffic, because of the normal radio traffic on my radio with my earpiece, and him being muffled enough with his mask, I couldn't understand what he was saying with his window being slightly cracked.
Okay. How many times, again, did you request Weisman to roll his window down?
Multiple times.
Okay. And did Mr. Weisman comply?
He would comply and then immediately roll his window back up. And doing so, like, he would give his registration, roll his window back up. And then after numerous times to roll it back down and give his other information, he would say something and then roll his window back up.
So at that time, were you frustrated?
It got a little tense, yes.
Okay, at that point, do you think there's anything you could have done, again, to offer the alternative measures or de-escalate the situation at that point in time? Like he had his information that you requested.
He had it, yes. But he did not provide all of it, no.
At what point did he provide everything? The driver's
license? It wasn't until after he was out of the car that I got everything. So like his insurance, I'm pretty sure I got that after he got out of the car. And it was after numerous times of asking him rolling his window up, to which at the point he was to get out of the car because he's being non-compliant at that point with the lawful orders that I'm giving with the lawful traffic stop that I initiated.
Okay. So let's think back since you just watched the video. So when you go over to the driver's side, what happened with that?
I ordered him out numerous times.
Okay. Did you observe him recording the traffic stop with his cell phone at that point? At what point did you see him recording his cell phone?
The first point I don't know, but I know when I was at the driver's seat, he just basically had his phone up against the window.
When you were at the...
When I was at the driver's side.
I
don't know when he started on the passenger side, if he was, but I do recall him having it when I was on the driver's side.
And you don't recall how many times you asked him to exit his vehicle?
I know it was numerous times.
And then you took your asp out, and what did you say?
I said he's going to get out or I'm going to force him out.
And do you know why he did not exit upon your initial request?
No.
Did he say anything about COVID at that point?
He did explain that he was scared of getting COVID. But what he said exactly, when I was at the driver's side, again, I don't know because his window was up and he still had his mask on. And now I'm on the driver's side facing traffic, so traffic's even closer with high winds passing me, so I still can't understand fully what he's saying.
Okay, so for him to say that you guys could hear with his window rolled up, that would be inaccurate?
Yes.
Okay, and then while you were at the driver's side with your asp, the side of the driver's door, what was your intent? What were you
I had the trooper block off the right lane, and I was going to wait for the other trooper to assist me. I wasn't going to do it by myself. And if he continued to disobey the lawful orders that I was giving, asking him out, which lawfully I can, it, depending on the situation, would have dictated if worst comes to worst, his window would have had to have been broken and him forced out of his car. That's worst case scenario.
Okay. So at what point, why were you asking him to exit his vehicle at this point?
Due to his non-compliance, not having his full information, due to him not providing all the information originally when asked, and then still not having the full information when I was at the driver's side door.
So what information at the driver's side were you still needing from him?
I believe it was the insurance still. I believe I had his license. I can't recall when I got his license. Even watching the video, I can't recall when he gave it to me. If it was after the door opened or if I was at the passenger side. Even watching, I couldn't tell when exactly I got that, but I know I got it after he was out of the car.
Okay.
I had it after he was out of the car.
So when you were at the driver's side, did he voluntarily exit his vehicle?
Yes.
And then what happens once he was out of the vehicle?
I walked him back to the front of my patrol car and placed him in handcuffs to be detained.
Was he compliant when you handcuffed him?
He was verbally combative, and when I went to place him in handcuffs, he got a little bit more agitated, and he was placed in handcuffs, and then he was just naturally argumentative, especially with the other trooper as well.
What did he say?
He said a lot of that. He didn't. I couldn't get him out of the car. I didn't have a reason. He accused me of stop and frisk at one point. He stated I had to wear a mask, but word for word, I couldn't tell you exactly what he said.
Okay. Did you explain if he was under arrest, investigative detention? Did you explain anything to him at that point?
Once he was placed in my back seat, yes, I did explain to him I did explain to him the whole situation.
And what was his remarks or comments?
He continued to state that he was just scared of COVID, and then he told me I had to wear a mask.
Okay. And then your backup unit, Trooper Lawrence, at what point did he intervene?
Intervene as in he didn't really go hands-on. He was basically, once I was placing the subject in handcuffs, he was just explaining that when you're asked out of the vehicle, you have to get out because the Supreme Court ruled it, and that we have dash cams, we have flashing lights, all that. He didn't really go hands-on whatsoever. He just was there as the assistant trooper on the stop.
And then he helped Mr. Weisman put his mask back on?
Yes, the mask came off. I think he tried to put it back over his nose, to which it came off, and then he put it back on to appease him so it wasn't too low on his face.
Okay. Do you understand the policy for the mask? Do you understand when
Verbatim, I couldn't tell you word for word. I know it is required that we wear it like on traffic stops, or not traffic stops. On traffic stops, I know it's voluntarily if we are going to wear them on traffic stops or not. I believe you have to wear them on posts, in the government buildings. Any property that states that we have to wear them, we should abide by that.
Okay. Do you think it would have helped the situation if you would have retrieved a mask?
It could have, yes.
Or de-escalate it by communicating with him about what's going on?
That is a possibility, yes.
As far as the reason for the stop, and that maybe, hey, I understand that you are concerned with COVID, just to get through all of this?
It could have, yes.
Okay. And then you issued a citation to him?
Yes.
Correct? Okay, for what?
Failure to move over.
Did you explain the citation?
Yes.
Let's back up real quick to the handcuffs. When you were cuffing him, was there a lot of force involved when you put the cuffs on him? Anything?
A lot of force, I would say no. At one point when I went to place him in handcuffs, he naturally pulled away and then bladed his body, to which I had to correct him in front of me. I didn't throw him on the hood. It's hard to see it in the dash cam, but he basically went onto the hood and I put him in handcuffs. I just kept him there, putting him in handcuffs.
Okay.
I didn't slam him on the hood, if that's what you're asking.
So you placed the handcuffs on him and you did not use excessive force or anything
I would
like
say
that?
No. The handcuffs were not too tight. I was able to put my finger through it. I was still able to move it, so it wasn't as if it was like cutting circulation or anything like that.
Okay. At that point in time when he's in the backseat of the patrol car, or when you're finished with the citation, did you explain how the traffic stop could have progressed or been easier if you would have communicated or complied?
Yes.
And what was his response to that?
It was both, mainly he just does not want to get COVID, and then he just started saying yes sir to when I was asking him the questions, or when I was stating to him the situation.
And then at that point in time, did you try to de-escalate the situation anymore and explain everything to him?
They just the stop, I'm stuttering. The stop was de-escalated, to which I felt it was necessary. Now that he understands the whole thing, and now that he was educated on the stop, and explained the situation, I did get him out and then take him out of handcuffs when he was more compliant, and I placed him back into his car, and then I issued him a citation.
Okay. Were you aware that Mr. Weisman was injured as a result of the incident?
Injured as in how?
He said his wrist, the cuffs were on so tight, he had cuffs on his wrist. He has a fractured rib. And then he is seeking, he's been to get medical treatment. He's been to physical therapy. And then also counseling for PTSD, because he felt that this was just very traumatic to him, how he was treated. So is that
all of those injuries I have no idea about. The cuffs weren't tight. You can see on the video, I don't know if you can see me do it, but every time I put someone in handcuffs, I place my fingers in to make sure that they're not too tight. If he was sitting in there and moving a lot, that could cause being uncomfortable in his handcuffs, but the cuffs were not too tight. I was able to get my fingers through it, and I was still able to move them on his wrists, but they weren't so loose he could slip his hands out of them. So if the way he sat down, the fractured ribs or the other injuries I couldn't tell you about, because he didn't explain about any of that. He did state he asked for hand sanitizer, to which I gave him. I was going to give him hand sanitizer, but then he said he had his own. So.
What about the Band-Aid? Do you recall him asking for a Band-Aid?
He did ask for a Band-Aid, which I said I didn't have one.
Did he? You don't have one in your first aid kit or anything?
I did not have one. I should have had one. I didn't even think about that, to be honest. But I didn't have one immediately accessible. That wasn't my cruiser, so I couldn't tell you if there were still Band-Aids left in that first aid kit.
Okay. Did he say anything about injuries at that point? Asking for a Band-Aid, did you think to ask, hey, why would you want a Band-Aid?
And then hand sanitizer.
Did you think to ask him why he'd want a Band-Aid?
I did not ask at the time, no.
Okay. So you do recall him requesting a Band-Aid?
Yes.
Did you render aid, provide a Band-Aid, hand sanitizer?
I told him I didn't have one immediately accessible, and then when I went to get hand sanitizer, he said he had his own.
Okay. And how did the traffic stop, the interaction conclude?
With him getting a citation and being left to be on his way, but he decided to sit there for an excessively long time after the traffic stop, to which, instead of avoid re-interaction, I allowed him to sit there because he was safely off the roadway.
So what do you mean, like?
How long was
he sitting there after the
I couldn't give you an exact time, but he didn't immediately pull off.
Did you pull off before he did?
Yes.
And then did you go back by to patrol the area and see him still sitting there? Or what do you mean by he was there a long time?
When we went back later, he wasn't there. So I don't know how long he sat after I drove off.
Okay.
I couldn't answer that question.
And then as far as the recording goes, when you were placing the cuffs on him and you took his phone and said you could record it, he claims that you threw the phone down on the hood. Did you remember?
I didn't throw it. I told him he could record, and I set everything on my hood. And then, I don't know, I didn't slam it on the hood. I told him I don't mind if you record, but you're not going to be holding anything because I was going to put him in handcuffs.
You didn't throw it hard on the hood or anything?
Not to my recollection, no.
You just tossed it and
I wouldn't
keep going
even
with
say toss
business.
it. I put it on the hood.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't want to put words in your mouth. I just want to make sure. I just want to get your mindset and see what was going on here, because he did call in a complaint, as I mentioned, and he's claiming injury, and that the situation was very traumatic to him. So I didn't know what was going on through your mind to know if there's anything you could have done differently.
There's
if you
always
recall maybe using a lot of force when you put the cuffs on him, or anything.
The only reason I had to reposition him back in front of me is because he bladed his body and then naturally pulled away because he was a bit disobedient when I was going to place him in handcuffs. He was asking why a lot, and then it's a criminal indicator when someone blades their body towards you. When you go to place them in cuffs, you never know what could happen. Someone could take off running, someone could swing. I don't know what his intentions are because I don't know him. So when you blade your body, I want to reposition him to not blade in front of me, to which he went on the hood. I wouldn't even say I slammed him on the hood. I don't know if he fell, tripped, or if it's just the momentum of me putting him in front. He lost his footing. It was pretty windy out there. But my intention was not to slam him on the hood. It was to reposition him to place him in handcuffs.
And at that point, was there any conversation about what was going on when?
I was trying, but he was arguing the whole time about not wanting to get COVID and stating I had no legal grounds to get him out of his car.
Okay. So, and that's why when I do these interviews, is just, and to get to the bottom of it, report the facts, and then it goes on. Okay. So as far as, so you had the traffic stop. He did supply you with the information.
Not fully, and after numerous commands to do so, but he did not give me all the information when requested.
And it was just the insurance that you still did not have.
I believe
at the
so. I
point
don't
you asked
recall.
him.
I couldn't recall when I got the license, but I know it was after he was out of the car. I had the license. Watching the video, I had it after he was out of the car. I couldn't tell you exactly when he gave it to me.
And you think that you could justify busting his window at that point in time? If he didn't comply.
He's being non-obedient. He's already failed to give me the information that he's required by law to do so. And then the Supreme Court rules that if an officer has a legal reason to interact with you, you have to step out of the vehicle. And the reason I was doing that was because of his disobedience of giving me his information. So I believe I would have been justified, worst case scenario. But with that situation, I gave numerous commands for him to exit his vehicle.
Because at one point in time, you mentioned that he didn't give you his phone number.
Yeah, I watched that and I got mad at myself because I think I got tunnel vision and focused on that a little too hard. Other than I explained it poorly with not providing all his information. That was like the last thing. That wasn't even. I don't even think about the car I even asked him for his phone number. I think that was the only thing I had left, and I think I just kind of got tunnel vision and focused on it. So I explained myself poorly in that aspect.
Okay, and that's what you gathered just watching the video?
Yes.
Is that the first you've watched the video?
No, I've watched it numerous times.
Okay. And again, you've watched it numerous times, as you're saying. Is there anything you could have done differently?
I believe there is always an aspect where you can do something differently, yes.
As far as communicating, de-escalating the situation?
Yes.
Would you put a mask on if this situation arose again?
As long as I have their license, I will put them out. I carry the mask now on my duty belt, so yes, I will have one more available for future interactions.
Okay. Right. Is there anything else you would like to add that I haven't asked that you think is pertinent to the investigation? Larry?
Are you required to wear a mask when you go up to a patrol car?
No.
Is that according to the Highway Patrol's policies or directives?
Yes.
Is the driver required to give you his driver's license?
Yes.
Required to give you his information?
Yes.
Did he do so?
No.
Does him being worried about COVID exempt him from any requirements of giving you his information or getting out of the car when he's ordered to do so?
No.
At the time, did the driver say anything to you about having injured ribs?
No.
Did you see any blood or anything where he was bleeding to need a Band-Aid?
No.
You were asked about things you could have done differently. Were there things the driver could have done differently?
Yes.
If he had done things differently, like doing what he's required to do, would this situation have happened?
Yes, it's happened before.
Have you received training related to this incident?
Yes, I had 2 separate trainings at the academy for de-escalation. The first was a full day with Sergeant Akers, and the second was a half day with Lieutenant Harris at the academy.
Other than asking for the Band-Aid, did the driver tell you his ribs were hurt or anything like that?
No.
Did you assault this driver?
No.
Did you put his cuffs on too tight?
No.
In your opinion, did you do anything to him that would cause him to have PTSD?
No.
I have nothing further.
Okay, so one more thing to add. So regarding the allegation, as far as his complaint, your unprofessional demeanor and the fact that you assaulted him, would you agree with that
With
comment and that allegation?
I do not believe I assaulted him, and I believe with the situation with him being combative, with the high wind and the loud traffic, I could have come off as louder, but with high winds, with high traffic, being outside on the interstate and with his window up, I'm going to be naturally louder. So if unprofessional as in me yelling at him, being outside on the interstate, you're going to be a little bit more louder than you would be right here in the office. Or if we were even on a city street, I don't think I've had to yell at anybody on a city street so far, even if someone wants to argue. I would disagree with the fact that I assaulted him, and I would state with what the union stated, that if he had provided his information originally, the entire situation would have been avoided if he had followed the law like he's required to do when pulled over by a peace officer.
Okay. And then to follow up on the fact that you went to training, was that related to this? Or
Yes.
Okay, what kind of training was it?
It was de-escalation training I had with Sergeant Akers, where we
Okay.
did review the video. We did go over
The specific video?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We went over how we could do things differently, different techniques such as verbal commands or even de-escalation tips and training. And we went over same with another day with Lieutenant Harris.
Okay. All right. Is everything you told me today true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Anything else?
Just one. Where he kept requesting you to go back and get a mask. Would that put you or compromise your officer's safety?
That can, because I didn't have his information, I don't know who he is, and I can't judge based off just appearances or the car you drive or even the violation that I stopped you for. So without at least being able to identify him, if he asked me to go back to my car, you can run the risk of 1, him fleeing, 2, him reaching for a firearm while I'm walking back, or even searching my passenger seat for a mask. Let's say if it fell on the ground, the minute I take my eyes off him, it becomes officer safety, and he could do something nefarious because I don't know who he is. I don't know what his intentions are, and by him dictating what I should do on a traffic stop, he's taking control of a traffic stop.
Did you know if he had any weapons in the vehicle?
No.
Do people who are upset at officers for either being stopped or particularly now in this COVID age, when people are upset about things, would that potentially put you at risk where he's upset and does have access to a firearm?
It is a possibility, yes.
I have nothing further.
Okay. With as far as the mask goes, with you not offering to put a mask on or anything else, was that just you using your authority to be in charge of the situation and in control of it, to say, you know what, I don't have to wear a mask, I'm not going to, I don't care what you say? Was there anything just being
I would say no.
authoritative?
I would say no. It was him dictating a traffic stop, and him trying to. I have done it before where people ask for me to put it on, and I've asked, hey, give me your license, and I'll go back and put it on. I've done that numerous times in the past, It was him telling me I'm not giving you the information until you put on a mask, and then him telling me to go put on a mask. It was where it becomes an officer safety because I can't identify him. I don't know what his intentions are.
So you have had in the past somebody request
Yes.
you wear a mask because they're same thing, they're worried about
Yes.
COVID?
I normally have a mask on me or in my pocket. This was happened to just be a once in a occurrence. I've put them on for requests, but bare minimum I would like to identify the person that's driving. So if I do go back to the car, or I'll get their information, go back, and then when I reapproach the vehicle, I'll have my mask on to appease them. It's happened.
What about when you had him in cuffs and Trooper Lawrence was there? Could you have gotten your mask on at that point? Because there was another concern with, as far as him in the interview, saying that when you got him out of the car, then you were right in his face once you were cuffing him and so forth.
I could have put on a mask, but it was a stressful situation. I probably didn't focus on it, to be honest. But it wasn't I'm a state trooper, you're a civilian, you do as I say. It probably slipped my mind due on the totality of the circumstances of the entire stop and the situation.
And just one more thing, as far as him being in cuffs, was he Mirandized? Was he under arrest at that point?
He was not under arrest.
Okay.
He was being detained at the moment, and I wasn't asking any criminal questions that would incriminate him. So no, at the time he was not Mirandized.
Okay. And then lastly, is everything you told me today true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. Anything?
I do have one. You mentioned that it is voluntarily, according to Highway Patrol directives, whether you wear a mask or not on traffic stops.
Yes.
Is there anything in that directive that requires you that if a driver requests that you put on a mask, that you have to put on a mask?
Not to my recollection, I couldn't say.
That's all I have.
Okay. So the interview will conclude at 3:23 p.m.